All right, let me just jump in and talk about Nuco. Nuco is a small company, and Nuco is led by a person called Joe Smith. And here in this picture on the slideshow, here we are showing Joe Smith's company, which is Nuco. And Joe Smith has developed a website for Nuco, and he knows he has to put out a blog. He's never found time to do it because he knows that the world has moved on from interruption based, where you're watching a movie, it stops, and they put an ad. That's called interruption. And on the permission based, where you actually want the companies to engage you in a conversation. That's because they are providing valuable content that's generating traffic. These are your customers that want to be engaged with your content because your content is valuable. So Joe Smith knows that the world has moved on from interruption based to permission based by using content to drive traffic. But here is Joe Smith has 101 things to do that are generating revenues, and he has to run the company. And for him, this whole process, putting content out, is too much. And that's where MikiYaka comes in. MikiYaka has content publishing services. Okay, what does that do? The very first thing MikiYaka does is develop a content strategy. And what is a content strategy? Number one, making sure a target segment of customers has been identified by Nuco, making sure the needs of that target segment have been identified, making sure that content has been identified that addresses the needs, and these content that has been identified is then completely road mapped. What are all the elements of content that are needed, and then subject matter experts within Nuco are organized and identified to figure out which elements of content can be provided by which subject matter experts, and then a project plan is developed so that based on a priority of these content elements, they have to be externalized and published. So that is what is done in the content strategy by MikiYaka, helping Nuco do that. And then comes this process, what we call as content elicitation. A content elicitation is a way of getting content out of the subject matter experts. Here on sitting on the right is a content elicitor. Sitting on the left are subject matter experts of Nuco. And then imagine this is on day one, a specific high priority content element has been identified, the topic has been identified, and the MikiYaka person actually interviews the subject matter experts and pulls out the content. And then what he does next is it gets the content out. That's great. And then goes through a process of iterations where he puts it out, writes it in some format, and then refines it with the help of the subject matter experts, and then publishes it. That's really what we are showing in this is the information is then published, the content is then published. That is great. But that's not all. The content that's published is also available because the content is owned by Nuco. Nuco can repurpose that in any of these ways. Nuco can repurpose that information here. That's the beauty of this. Nuco can make that a webinar, can make that a PowerPoint presentation, can combine that into a white paper, can make that an audio podcast or a video or a screencast or whatever they want to do. So there are multiple ways it can be reformatted. Boom. So magically, without a huge amount of time impact, because Joe Smith's time is taken up by revenue generating activities of his company, boom, here my MikiYaka comes in without a huge amount of impact. Content is externalized, content is published. So that is the value proposition of MikiYaka. Thank you.